I think just in general, first of all, to talk a little bit about the day. We did an autograph signing at 9 o'clock this morning. Unbelievable turnout. The line, I couldn't believe just how long it was, the amount of people that came to support the team today, not only for that, but in the stadium. So it was a great turnout. I think everybody knew coming in it was going to be a warm day, which it was. But the turnout, the support of everybody, just much appreciated. You could feel the love for sure. So that was fantastic. I thought just in general about the game. One, it's great to come out injury-free. We didn't have anything where we're just overly concerned. Football's football. You're going to get bumps and bruises. We understand that. And then that we were able to make it through with kind of somewhat limited rosters. We had a few guys that we just didn't want to put in harm's way to get them completely healthy. We had a couple guys that had to kind of play in green jerseys, which meant they were non-contact. But I thought that part of the game was good, that we were able to get through it. And I thought we saw, from an offensive perspective, playmaking ability from a variety of people, which is something that we were hoping to get to as a team, to where it wasn't just one or two guys creating explosive plays, but that hopefully people are going to have to defend multiple people. And we saw that from, obviously, Xavier. We saw it from Jordan. We saw it from AD. We saw Jonte make a big play. We saw Jaden Blue in the open field. We saw Savion Red in the open field. We know what JT Sanders can be. So I think on that front, DeAndre Moore, I know he didn't make the one play, but came back and had another big play later. So I think that we've created a lot more versatility from an offensive perspective. And then we had to, kind of move some linemen around. I thought they performed admirably. I thought defensively, I thought our front played well. Again, you're splitting the squad, so you have, Sweat on one team, Murphy on another. That can get difficult when you don't have the depth. I think we're at our best defensively when we can roll our front, and guys aren't having to play 40 and 50 plays, but they're playing 25 or so. That's when we're at our best. So I think our depth, when we're all on one team, is going to be, more advantageous for us. Felt like I saw Anthony Hill a lot today, which is a positive. I know he played multiple positions. But at the end of the day, football comes down to who can take care of the ball, right, or who can turn it over. And, I thought offensively they took care of the ball today on both teams. Naturally, I'm going to say on the flip side, we've got to try to create more turnovers defensively. Some of those, when the guy's not contact, especially the quarterback, you never know if that ball is going to come out or not. I thought our younger quarterbacks did some good things, Malik and Arch, but at times the eyes drop, and now we're looking at the pass rush and we're not getting our eyes downfield to where they need to be. So still a work in progress, but I did think they threw some nice balls and tried to give their team a chance. And I thought Quinn was really efficient today. So all in all, for me, it was a positive day from a spring game perspective. It was a positive spring. Now we've got to get our full allotment of our team back when we come back and get going in June. That means certain players have to get healthy. Other players need to finish up school and get here, and then the rest of the guys got to come in with the right frame of mind, because when we come back after Memorial Day and this room is full with our entire roster, that's when it's time to go. That's when our culture's got to start to really be built, and we start putting in that work in the summer heat, getting ourselves ready for fall.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get a mic to you. Start up front in the middle, Dan.
Steve, looking forward, what is kind of next for this team as far as the schedule, and how important is rest, getting these guys some rest over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so what will happen is we do one more week of kind of real weight training with them just to see where their body's at. I don't want to call it testing, but we can see what a workload of spring ball did to their body and maybe where they get deficient, so we know how to work them in the summer. They will do some lifting on their own in their time off, but in that time, they're getting ready for finals and they're finishing up school, and I think they deserve that time to finish up school. Obviously, it's a challenging place, and so we got to give them that time to do that, and they need a little bit of time to decompress. When you play a bowl game late into the year like we did, and then you come back in January, you start winter conditioning again, they need a little time to kind of decompress, knowing when June hits, we're going to go for 9 weeks. And then after 9 weeks, we're going to take about 5 days off, and then it's training camp. And so they need a little bit of time to kind of let their bodies kind of, recharge the batteries and then come back ready to work. And so I think it's a good schedule. I think that, I think they really bought into it a year ago of the time that they have off. But that time, we can't lay around eating Doritos and eating Taco Bell and whatnot on the couch. You still have to do some work so that you're not overwhelmed when you come back after Memorial Day.
Does the deep passing game seem fixed to you? And Xavier Worthy, is he in a better mindset, and does he have to win the fans back after the bowl game?
There was a lot of questions within the questions. I think the deep ball one. We've put a lot of work into it, and we're going to continue to work it. I just don't think that we can say it's fixed, but yet I thought we saw some positive things today. Obviously the deep ball to Xavier from Quinn. The deep ball from Malik to Jonte. There was another deep ball. I thought Malik threw a beautiful pass to DeAndre Moore. So those things were really positives. And then, there was arguably a PI or not on another deep ball to Xavier, which sometimes that's the byproduct of taking your shots. I think like as in coaching, the old adage is you get what you emphasize, and we've been emphasizing that, and I think we're seeing some positive results. So that's a great thing because our offense is better when we can stretch the field. I think Xavier's in a great frame of mind. Like I said, when we came back after the break, he fought through an injury last season that a lot of people didn't know, and he didn't ever complain. He just continued to work, and I think that in his mind, he's thinking, now that I'm healthy, what could have been last year, and now what can this year become, coming in healthy and doing it the right way. So I think there's good rapport with he and Quinn. I think his connection with his teammates is great. And at the end, I don't think that he can worry about trying to win people over. I think he has to worry about being the best version of himself. And in the end, that's good enough, and I think people will love that aspect about him.
Coach, what were some of the things that you would be willing to share that you were hoping to accomplish by the time you got to, this point of the spring and the spring game, and were you able to kind of check off those boxes?
Yeah, I think, a few of the things were, the run game, how it was going to look, what it was going to feel like with some different runners. And even at that, we didn't have Jonathan Brooks and Keelan for the majority of spring. We got Brooks back kind of the last couple weeks. Naturally, from a coach's perspective, I don't want to call it experiment, but quite frankly, we experiment some in spring ball with schemes, with personnels, with some position changes. Maybe a lineman playing who was a tackle playing guard. If he was a guard, maybe he's playing the other guard. So we experimented with a lot of those things. And then obviously defensively too. You can take a few more chances throughout the spring knowing there's not as many consequences, right? Because you're not having a game to play. And I think we found out some things about us from a pressure standpoint to create pressures. A lot of these things I'm talking about, we don't show in a spring game. But in the end, I think the biggest thing we found out about our team is I think we have really good depth on this team. You can go position by position, and I feel very comfortable if the starter isn't in, the backup doesn't look much different. And I don't know, we haven't been in that space here my first couple years. We've been in a space where maybe one position was that way, but at another position it was like, man, if so-and-so goes down, we're in real trouble. Today, I kind of feel like if so-and-so goes down a position, which we never want them to, the next guy going in, we all feel very comfortable with. And I think that part for me was the thing that I got out of spring ball is that we have depth on this team now to where we have a very solid 2 deep and at some positions 3 deep where we're very comfortable with the players that we have.
On your left, Sutter.
Steve, we saw a lot of Malik for the first time. He's healthy. What did you see from him? And also, did you see enough disruption from your front four over the spring?
I thought what I saw from Malik was when he really started to settle in. He has natural ability to pass the football, and he has he's got great vision. When he pushes the ball down the field, it's natural. It's not like he has to force it or he's got a quick delivery and quick release. And I also think Malik's a really good leader. He always brings a lot of positive energy every time he takes the field, which I think is great. So it was awesome for us. Even this spring, he wasn't able to participate the first week. We kind of had to hold him out and then had to gradually work him back in. So the idea that hopefully we can get him completely healthy going into training camp where he gets that foundation of the installation, I think the sky's the limit for the guy. He's a really talented player, and I thought he showed today with making some of the throws that he did. The pass rush. Yeah, I did. You know, again, it's hard when you have to split those guys up because I think we have some good packages now that where we can get people on the field in certain combinations and they can be very disruptive. And you can count on certain guys that are nowhere penetrator types that can affect the quarterback and other guys that can clean things up. I think our linebackers are good rushers as well. So all in all, I feel good about it. Is there potential we may add a guy here or there? We'll see. Nobody knows. The portal opened today, so I don't know what's going to happen. But the reality of it is the roster we have up there up front, I feel good about.
Stay on this side, Thomas.
Coach, one more quarterback question. Based on how they played in the spring and how they played today, have the quarterbacks kind of established that pecking order with Quinn the starter, Malik number 2, and Arch 3? And secondly, with Arch, what does he take out of a game like this before the crowd for the first time?
Yeah. The beauty of it is I don't have to establish a pecking order right now. That's the beauty of it. I have another 29 practices to go in fall camp. I think to be fair to all these guys, you know, like Malik, that was his first spring that he ever had. He didn't get spring a year ago, and of that, he missed the first about 5 practices before he really was able to go in team drills. So what does that look like moving forward? Arch, those are his first 15 practices of his life in college. So sometimes, you know, we can rush to judgment on where guys are at. I think it's pretty clear to say, you know, Quinn's our starting quarterback, and we feel very good about that. But I don't ever want to take the stinger of these other guys that they're not competing for something, that they're not striving for something, because they're all talented players. They're great teammates with one another. And I think they all appreciate how hard each of them work. And I think we're in a very fortunate position to have 3 quality guys in that room that work the way that they do.
Stay on this side, Megan.
Quinn was in here saying that he didn't like the way that he played last year. He felt like he disappointed fans. We can see what he's changed his body. He said he changed his eating. Were those changes something that he said that he wanted to do, like he came up with the idea, or was it a conversation you guys had? How did that all kind of start?
Well, you know, at the end of every year, you know, and like I'm going to have next week at the end of every spring, you know, we try to meet with every player on our team and give them things that, what are their strengths that we see? What are maybe some of the weaknesses that they have? And then what do they need to work on to improve on those weaknesses? And some of those things are on the field things. Some of those things are in the weight room. Some of those things are in the classroom, so on and so forth. And so when it was Quinn, and we had the meeting and we had the dialogue and everybody got on the same page with, okay, what is the next steps going to look like for you? I think he dove right into it. And it started in January. I think that he really, you know, devoted himself to the weight room. Obviously, you know, his diet, his nutrition, his just overall understanding of the offense. And I think it shows. He looked very comfortable today. And, you know, and that's not having a real like game plan going into the game. You know, you're just kind of running plays in a spring game. So the fact that I think he's going to be even more dialed in when we actually game plan and what we're trying to attack to get after people, I think that he's going to be a more confident player and one that I think is going to instill belief in his teammates and coaches and our entire organization that, hey, that's our guy and he's going to make the plays when his number's called.
Got time for a couple last ones. Chip on the right.
Steve, you're talking about the depth and, you know, feeling good.
First of all, you guys have been quiet on this side of the room. I think this is the first question we've had over here, but go ahead.
Bianco's looking at all those guys over there right in front of him. But Malik and Arch, have you seen enough from those guys to know that between now and September they can get where they have to be if, you know, Quinn has to come out of a game for whatever reason, like you had in Alabama last year? Yeah,
I think so. You know, again, the key to the drill, for Malik is make sure that he can stay healthy all summer long, all training camp long. I think that's going to be enough time for him. You know, like I said, he's got natural instincts passing the football. I think for Arch, it's going to digest these 15 practices, have another install this summer before training camp to start to dial into. It's one thing to know the plays. It's another to know where your primary read is. It's another to know where your secondary reads are when the pass rush is coming. And that's a process that I think is natural, and I think that he's on pace in that natural progression to do those things. So yeah, I feel comfortable. But you know, hey, as coaches, we got to keep coaching and coach them hard to get them to the place we need them at in a timely fashion.
Stay on the right, Sam.
Steve, you alluded to the depth. When you look at what you have on this roster and what you've seen through 15 practices in tape particular, how good can this team be in your opinion?
I mean, like I said, I like our football team. We're talented. I think that we're together, and that's to me is more important than the talent. The fact that I think that the connectivity on this team, the culture that these guys have created with each other, they have a lot of fun with one another. It's the first time today I came into the team meeting and they were all singing a song together. 2 years ago, you could have heard a church mouse in here when I walked into a team room. And now they're actually having a lot of fun being a team with one another and appreciating the work that each of them are doing. And that comes from love. And the fact that that's where we're at as a team, that's going to help us overcome the adversity we're going to get faced with in the fall. But I definitely think we're talented enough. Now we just got to keep putting in the work and make sure we understand the whys of the things that we're doing and put ourselves in a position of where we're ready to go compete at a high level with a full allotment of our 85 scholarships.
Over here on the left, Terry.
Coach Sarkisian, all the players played with intensity, right? But were there a couple of players that surprised you that you weren't expecting to see what you saw from them today?
Well, some guys, we pride ourselves on the way we practice here. We try to make practice as intense as possible. And so a lot of times we can see a level of intensity come out of them in practice, and so But one guy who has been new to the program and then had a little bit of a setback with his ankle, but then you saw it show up today was AD. AD Mitchell is an explosive athlete, and we haven't gotten him all 15 practices this spring, but him going today and that explosiveness that he has, and now in combination with Xavier, with Jordan, with JT, that's a problem. And now it's make sure we're calling the right plays to get all those guys open and that the quarterback is finding those one-on-one matchups, because those guys can win one-on-one and they can't double everybody. So, it's a good problem for us to have moving forward.
Time for two last ones on the far right. Jeff?
Sark, when it comes to the offensive line, the less experienced guys that got work this spring, whatever that number is, 8, 9, a true 2 deep, did you see enough from that less experienced group this spring to feel like you and Coach Flood can ultimately get to whatever that number of starting caliber guys is?
This spring was really helpful for us. We did not. It wasn't great not having Cole Hudson out there and Connor Robertson, but it created opportunity for DJ Campbell. It created opportunity for Cam Williams. We moved Hayden Connor around some this spring, and that gave Nato an opportunity. He played starting left guard for us, this past week and today, and played really well. So I feel very comfortable with kind of where we're at up front. We have to keep getting better and keep improving and finding that cohesiveness, but we have enough versatility and guys who can play multiple positions, but also the fact that, if a guy goes down, the next guy up, whoever that is, in whatever order that falls, who are the top 5 and who are the next guys after them, that they're going to be physical enough to play football at a high level and confident enough to do it, which is always the key.
Last one in the back, Corey.
Coach, first question, were you familiar with the song that they were singing when you walked in?
I really wasn't, and I felt bad too, because they all knew it, believe me, and I did not. You'd have to ask them,
Gotcha.
but have them tell me first so I can act like I knew it. Okay.
Got you. Secondly, Coach, you just spoke about the wide receiver room, and then also throwing in JT in there and the running back room with so many weapons. Does that just excite you, knowing that you got to figure out and put all the pieces together?
Yeah, it does. The guy that we haven't mentioned who looks great is Isaiah Nair, too, who he transferred from Wyoming. We all had high hopes and aspirations for, got injured last year, has done a phenomenal job with his rehab, and he looks fantastic. We held him out. We just want to make sure he gets fully healthy, but he looks tremendous as well. So, you're like the kid who gets a bunch of new toys at Christmas, and then you still have those other toys that you love playing with. And so now our job is to make sure that we craft an offense that allows all of those guys to play to their potential and to do the things that they do really well, and hopefully, make things difficult on our opponents. And we should be fresh, we should be fast, and now making sure that we're distributing the ball in a way to where at any given moment, one of these guys can really hurt you from an offensive perspective.